My name is Melissa. I'm your host tonight. I'm going to be introducing all the poets. And before I do that, I'm going to pass it over. Unmute. Okay. I muted myself. Okay. And hold on. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? Okay. Oh my gosh. All right, before I go on, I want to pass it over to Sofia Campos, who's going to tell you a little bit about Mijente, and then get started with our night. Yeah,
Yes, welcome everybody. Just a quick request to please mute yourselves. Por favor, pónganse en silencio. We know that this virtual world is a little different and we're all getting used to it. So I want to ask, that we're able to create this environment together. So thank you all for being here. I am part of the Mijente team. Mil gracias por estar aquí con nosotros hoy día. We know it's been a long week, long season, long year. And we're so grateful to be hosting this series with the BreakBeat Poets LatiNext anthology with Haymarket Books to really create a space to celebrate our connection, our cultura, and our lucha, our struggles, right? We know that this is a time where many of us have been out in the streets or taking action from our homes in whatever safe way that we can. But we know that it's a time to move, to act, and to come together as a community. And that's what Mijente is really about. We are a national political home for Latinx, Chicanx people in the US and in Puerto Rico who are pro-Black, pro-queer, pro-mujer, pro-trans, pro-worker, pro-pueblo, period. And we are so proud to be centered on those values and to center our work around those values. We are an organizing hub, and what that means is that we organize sin, contra, y desde el Estado, or without, against, and within the state. And so we have campaigns that run that work on those multiple fronts because we believe that we need all the strategies, all the tactics, all the creativity, all the energy from our people in order to win the justice that we deserve. And we know that we come from a lineage of warriors, of healers, and so that is what our political home is about growing that and cultivating that. And so if you are Latinx, Chicanx, and live in the States or in Puerto Rico, we invite you to become a member. You can go to mijente.net/join, check out our membership. And if you are not Latinx, Chicanx, we invite you to join our work too. Our campaigns, our work is open to everybody. You can donate, you can support, and you can sign up for our newsletter to stay in touch and know what's up. So on that front, we are going to be talking and highlighting our desde el Estado, our within the state work. And one of our main campaigns on that front right now is Fuera Trump, because we need to get that person out of office, his policies, his minions all across the government, both locally and nationally, need to leave in order for our communities to be safe, right? We know this, and that's why we are on the front lines of doing this work in battleground states. And you'll be hearing more from our folks in North Carolina, in Georgia, and also from wherever you are, how to plug in and how to support this work in these times. So I'm gonna leave it there and pass it back to Melissa, and we'll keep it flowing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sophia. I really recommend everybody to check out Mijente. In this turbulent time, I've felt very weird about like the idea of Latinidad. It's so messy, it's so complex. A lot of it can be super violent, and I really love what Mijente does as framing Latinidad as something that is like a framework of solidarity. And I just really dig it, and I love what we're doing tonight with all these poets across our diaspora. So a little bit about LatiNext. In the dynamic tradition of the BreakBeat Poets anthology, the BreakBeat Poets Volume 4, LatiNext, celebrates the embodied narratives of Latinidad. Poets speak from an array of nationalities, genders, sexualities, races, and writing styles, staking a claim to our cultural and civic space. Like hip hop, we honor what was, what is, and what is next. There should be a link to buy LatiNext in the comments. If not, I'll put it right now. And also the book is 30% off right now. It's a beautiful pink book. It looks really nice on a shelf and feels really good in your brain. Okay, so our first poet tonight is Davon Clark. Davon Clark is a Philadelphia-raised artist based in Chicago that uses investigative journalism practices in his camera work and poetry. His work looks to fill in the gaps left behind in the coverage of the worlds that he lives in and peripheral to. He likes flowers and the little things in life. You can find out what he does and how he does it at www.daybydavon.com. All right, everybody give it up silently for Davon.
Hello. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you to everybody tonight. I'm really excited. I'm really excited too to be like going early because like right now the sun is setting in Chicago, and I don't know. It's nice to like be starting like reading poetry while I'm looking at the sunset. It's gorgeous. Anyway, we're here for poems. It's been not only like a wild week, but like a wild few months. I mean, it's a wild life all the time, really. But it's been really hard. It's been really hard to like write. It's been really hard to create. I kind of feel guilty sometimes almost creating, but I'm finding ways to carve out time and space and energy and effort to like still hold value to those things. So I wanted to read a couple of things that I've written over like the past like 2 months. It's the only 2 things that I've written over the past couple months. So so it's good. Yeah. I talk too much before I read because I get way too nervous. But for like a little bit of context, I just moved to like this neighborhood called Uptown in Chicago. And I've like found a lot of reasons for like, I don't know, it's been kind of weird settling in. It's a different space for me. But the other night I met my first Puerto Rican person around here. And I grew up with a bunch of Puerto Ricans around me. And when I came to Chicago, I only found like a handful. So it was really cool to like move into this new home where I'm finding out how to settle. And then someone like with a big ass like Puerto Rican flag on their shirt, I'm like, yes, finally, let's get some coffee. Anyway, I've been thinking about home a lot because of that since then. Yeah. I'll just read. This I'm at home most in the spaces kept for me. The nooks and crannies of life that fit me ever so uncomfortably. Where I can be and not think about still being. Where I only have to wonder why I am. I want to talk out loud about the smell of seasonings. About the barreling train traveling towards the express stop. About the pigeons always cooing like it's morning. About the shouts of a people and how movement is where I'm made. I want to talk about going through the drive-thru of a fast food restaurant that I spent a year standing in front of while I waited for the bus. About dodging the same potholes I used to laugh at the Uber drivers for hitting. About the same people on the same boulevard asking for the same scrap of life from passers-by and humbled pedestrians. I want to speak on the headaches and heartbreaks of transparency. About studying for the LSAT and not skipping the questions that don't make me feel human. About the neighborhood watch that admits to watching my friends a lot closer. About the lake that matches the day that we have and the day that we need. I'm at home most when I'm living without moving. And I want to talk to everyone who wants to sit down with me. Give me a coffee to talk about the only other Puerto Rican on my block and let us speak on how far we've come and how close we still feel. Give me a banh mi from every store in Argyle and help me find the best baguette. Find me the only lights in the sky that are stars and let's cross the T's and dot the I's of all the constellations we know about but never looked for it. That's it. I thought I finished that one a while ago, but I guess I didn't. I guess it's in a different draft, but that's it from that one. I have this other one that like I've been very I never know how to like receive like applause during an online reading, you know, because I'm so used to like doing like the okay, thank you, like at an in-person reading. But yeah, no, it's really cool with this. Anyway, I've been writing this one like little bit by little bit about the members of my family that I grew up with in my house, and yeah, I never talk about my family enough, like in my poems. And that's something I've really been coming to grips with a lot this year of like, I can write about so many things with all these flowers and all these stars and all these isms and everything. But like, I never talk about the love that my family instilled in me. And I wanted to get better at that. So this one's been a little bit tough and I'm still definitely working on it. But yeah, I love people that made do and made better. I want to ask all of them if they knew what they were doing. Did they wake up with a family tree growing on the horizon? How did they know what to do, or how did they even have a clue? My mother would doodle flowers all over her spiral notebooks and journals to give her hands something to do in her new apartments in some part of South Jersey. Now she has a garden in the back of her house, and 2 dogs that only bark at squirrels, and a wife that seasons food better than she does. Oh, the things that hands and love can do. My grandmother lisps her S in Spanish, but she still got the fight in her that she got from the Bronx. She's been the rock of an emergency room and kept the family afloat. A river of stone from Rio Piedras, an island of lessons and love amongst a sea of constant anxieties. Oh, the things that movement can settle us into. Mi tío has shown me how to love with full hands, how to know power before it is used and to use it only when you know you need to, how to respect everything enough to joke about it, how to teach someone only where they're at and knowing that the lessons will keep going. Oh, the things that we learn how to work through. Mi titi has always kept people alive for a living. Myself, herself, and any human she has ever stood next to. She taught me to keep an open mind and an unconditional heart. My first video game partner, the one to convince the family to get a dog and a pool. Oh, the things that love can do. I hope to think I'll see the future that they fought for me to have. I sometimes feel like I'm too nervous to make it. I'm always twitchy, but I notice myself moving most when I don't care about it. Survival often feels numb to me, and that's scary. I'm constantly thinking about how much had to be felt for me to be here as I am, doing and feeling and being as I be. Cool. Yeah, I don't want to like go too much over time or nothing. Neither of those poems were in the Latinx anthology, but you could definitely read my poems along with like over 200 more pages of great poetry in that anthology. Please pick it up. I love the work that the editors did on it. It was really cool to see myself in so many different poems. Usually I had to like very like search out like poets that were writing about things around my life, and to just have a book of it's beautiful. Finally. Thank y'all so much. Please show mad love to the rest of the readers tonight.
Thank you so much, Davon. If you like Davon's work, I put his Venmo or his Cash App in the chat. I'll be putting that in the chat throughout the night, serving as like a tip jar to support the artist. The artist can keep it for themselves or donate it to a cause of their choice. Okay, so thank you so much. That was really beautiful, Davon. I have a lot of thoughts and feelings, but I have to move on. Okay. Okay, so next we have María Fernanda. María Fernanda is a poet whose poems and translations appear in The Wide Shore, the BreakBeat Poets, Volume 4, LatiNext, which you can buy for 30% off right now, Soul, Sister Revue, and elsewhere. Featuring at the Brooklyn Museum, the Ecuadorian American Culture Center, the Phoenix Art Museum, and more, María Fernanda has received several literary fellowships, including Callaloo Writers Workshop. She is a Rainbow Book Fair coordinator for the largest LGBTQIATS+ book event in the United States, as well as a member of the Watering Hole Anthology Committee. Watering Hole is a Southern-based vanguard building Harlem Renaissance-style spaces in the contemporary South. María Fernanda is a Black Ecuadorian American and an adoptee with a cultural background branching to Louisiana, Texas, and a native of Washington, D.C. Please give it up virtually for María Fernanda.
I'm the person with the mute button. So thank you so much. Thank you to Poppy 2 times. If you know what I mean when I say that, then you know, then you're in the space. I'm just gonna get right into it. The day before shelter in place. Before the Gilbert Salon closes, the Caucasuals brag between hair flips about clearing shelves of boxed bullets. Like cheap candles, they stack, snug under husbands, brothers, cousins' arms. This is the sound their God makes. Click, click, your Target runs out of water. Click, click, the Walmart soft counts paper. The corner store's line is out the door. Click, click, we stand 6 feet apart like a crowded, upright burial ground. Click, click, it's right. Click, click, it's night out in this sundown town where white men hold their guns, still shooting, balled up lightning against the outside wall of my apartment in Arizona. They're bored, the women say. It's a joke and a prayer, but they don't name who they pray for. So again, super glad about the anthology. Really hope you guys will get it. It's just been an amazing gift, and just to, you know, just getting it in the mail out here was beautiful. And so I'm just super thrilled. And similar to everyone else, I'm a little nervous too, but we're gonna get right into it. This poem is called Brothers Under the Skin, after Perry Thomas. I buried my brother alive, once as a joke, with his head burning and his tongue leesome. North American now, he had learned to land, a twang into any syllable to its near breaking. He mastered even a Yankee English. He had the last name, the accent, the passport, and the blue contact lenses. And I wondered if he remembered. He had our eyes first, the color of syrup, sapped in the spring. We used to sit at the mirror, him braiding my hair and calling us beautiful. So please get the anthology if you haven't already got it. It's so amazing. And it's just a beautiful space to just be in constellation with all these amazing poets that maybe, like, you know, you see all the time in your neighborhood, or poets you're like, wait, I cannot believe this is the first time I'm meeting them. So it's just a beautiful space to be present to. So recently I've been looking at these questions that this one amazing Indian American writer wrote. And one of her questions that she writes is, how will you begin? Another she asks is, how will you live now? And I think I'm thinking about those questions now with this, you know, with everything that's happening in the country. But at the same time, I'm also thinking about Daniel Alexander Jones, who says, we do not begin here. Everything that's happening in the country. And so just a moment. And so I have a poem that I wrote inspired by it. This event is for people of color ages 16 and up. For Maya, that goes by they, them. We leave our leather purses. I'm also thinking about Daniel Alexander Jones, who says, we do not begin here. Everything happening in the country. We join Maya like copper, rockfish, passing. And so I have a poem that I wrote inspired by it. Just a moment. I feel like, is anyone else hearing feedback? It's for people of color ages 16 and up. For Maya. I'm sorry, guys. I just heard a little feedback. I'm gonna start that last one again, and then we could keep it moving. This event is for people of color ages 16 and up. For Maya, they, them. We leave our leather purses. Like selvage, they edge Maya's wall. We join them like copper rockfish passing through clear water. Lamp lit, Maya's living room balances the hue of the clementine rind. Finding a spot, we begin. Everyone untucks their bounded things. A borrowed yoga mat, an extra hair tie, a muscular tension. The timbre of Maya's voice matches the softness of a drum brush against a snare. They give their brief lesson on which organs are where. We try to cup our hands like Maya, and we gradually learn how to massage our wounds, not yet expecting we close our eyes and knead our own skin like gathered honey. We remember the noise first. When will you feel this? Dear, will I live long enough to see my grandchildren? Girl, who said you have time? Second, we try to quiet this accidental rewind, and we remember, in this moment, our wombs are without kick or stretch or gender, and we can imagine just ourselves as flower petals. Thank you guys so much, and thank you so much for letting me start that one. Bye.
Thank you so much, Maria Fernanda. That was so beautiful. I really love falling in love with poems again. And that is how I feel right now. Thank you so much. Okay, our next poet is, actually right now we're going to take about like a 5-minute time to talk more about Mijente with Maria Luisa and Tanya. So I'm going to pass it over to them.
Hola, so I'm Maria Luisa. My pronouns are she, her. Food on the table, like seeing all of these families in poverty was normal. And when I finally left New York and I went to college and I made white friends and I heard that their experience was so different from mine, that was my first clue that like something was off. And then I started to learn about a lot of the intentionality that makes it so that people who look like me don't have the same opportunities. And that really pissed me off. So I've dedicated my life to working against the system that tells me that I don't deserve to live, that people who look like me don't deserve to live, and that my family doesn't deserve to be here. So that being said, like bringing it back to North Carolina and to Charlotte, right now we have 200,000 Latina folks that are eligible to vote and aren't registered. And there's so many forces working against us to register them. We've been out here like calling our gente and texting them, and out in the pandemic, handing out masks and resources and getting them signed up. But literally, like the domain name for online voter registration in North Carolina is payments. It's like payments.nc.gov, so that people registering will think that they have to pay. And it's not in Spanish, it's only in English. If you want a mail-in ballot, you have to go back and forth corresponding with USPS in order to vote. There's so much voter suppression here that legit, we were on The Daily Show just recently. They did a segment on like voter suppression games, and North Carolina was the first state that they chose. So I say that to you not to leave you with a heaviness, but to understand that there's a lot at stake. We can change things here, but we can't do this alone. Like our team right now needs support. So we're doing phone banking every Saturday. We're doing text banking, and you can do that from the comfort of your own home. Like I moved here from California, and in 2016, I was chilling. I was chilling hard because I was like, we're gonna vote blue and I don't have to worry. If that's your situation, adopt North Carolina, because we are not chilling out here. Like they're trying really hard to not let us be heard, and our gente are dying here. So we need your support. Call us up, like get connected with me. I'll put my email and my contact information in the chat, but you can literally help us out, like eating a bowl of cereal in your pajamas at home on a Saturday. And like, that would be amazing support. So thank you all for your time, and thank you to the amazing poets that I've heard so far. And I'm really looking forward to hearing more. Thank you.
And hey folks, my name is Tanya Unsueta. I go by she, her. And I'm talking to you from Atlanta, Georgia, another place where Mijente has been throwing down around the elections. And we were here 2 years ago in 2018 when the election got stolen by Republicans by a variety of tactics. So, you know, speaking to a little bit of what Maria Luisa was talking about, in terms of the tactics that the system uses to like put down our people, Georgia is really good at it. In fact, the person who led it last year is our governor now, and we expect that a lot of the same stuff is gonna be happening again. But I wanted to actually talk to you about how some of the work that Mijente is doing around our electoral work, and I'll be brief, but I did want to tell you that, like, you know, it's been hard to be doing electoral work. I used to be one of those people who would, anytime like someone asked me, are you registered to vote? I would like turn to them and say like, no, I'm undocumented, and like wanted them to like feel bad that they even asked. And it's this like anger that's just so hard to process when like you haven't had access to any of this stuff, and where the government has like excluded you. And so to this day, I actually still can't vote. But the more that I've learned about the history of the US, and the more that I've understood sort of the different tactics that communities have been able to use to fight for power, to push power back, the more that I've seen the need for us to be involved at every level. And I think the best opportunity that we have around elections right now is coming up in November to get Trump out. And Mijente really sees this work as a defense mechanism, a tactic for harm reduction, and like at the top of our list, really picking our target, right? The way that we see it, we're picking our target between Biden and Trump. And I can tell you from experience that from like I've seen Biden and I've seen Trump, and I know I don't want another 4 years of Trump. And so our strategy right now at Mijente is we've been working through this website, fueratrump.com. And the idea is that, you know, as you know, the presidency isn't just picked by whoever gets the majority vote. It has to do with states. It has to do with how many states have their electoral votes and all of that. The point is that there are some states that, you know, are more likely to actually be voting against Trump already, and some that are not. And so what we've done is we've chosen 4 key states, 4 battleground states, where we know there's very little infrastructure, or where there's growing infrastructure, right? Where the Latino community is really just starting to get a hold of its power, and where we know our work can make a difference in terms of getting people out. So we're focusing on North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, and Arizona. And if you go to fueratrump.com, and from anywhere in the country, the idea is that you can look at events that you can join to support our people in those 4 states. So I know electoral work is not the only work that's happening. I think at Mijente, we're showing that there's multiple strategies to go. And I think we all know what's at stake in November also. So this is an invitation, really an invitation to folks who want to help us get Trump out of office, join our campaign. So thank you all. And thank you for everyone and all your words. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Tanya and Maria Luisa. I really appreciate everything, all of the work both of you are doing, all the work Mijente is doing. And also both of you can speak on voting and the upcoming election a lot more than I can. So thank you so much. And I won't speak on it further just because I think you guys did a great job. Okay, so our next poet is Faye Hernandez. Faye Hernandez, born in Chihuahua, Mexico in 1993, is an Inglewood-raised immigrant, trans, non-binary visual artist, writer, and healer. Faye is an advisory board member of Gender Justice Los Angeles and was one of the artists for Forward Together's 2019 Trans Day of Resilience campaign. They are co-founder of ING Fellowship, which provides mentorship and empowerment to Inglewood youth, and was a femitor for the 2019 to 2020 Seeds of Liberación Leadership Development Program for young transgender, gender nonconforming, and intersex people in Los Angeles. They are certified Reiki and Akashic Records practitioner who utilizes a decolonial approach to ancestral energetic healing. Faye's writing has been featured in Poetry, Frontier Poetry, NPR's Code Switch, Immigrant Report, Non-Binary Memoirs of Gender and Identity, Hayden's Fairy Review, Issue 64, BreakBeat Poets, Volume 4, LatiNext, 30% off, and forthcoming Pank Magazine. Faye collects Pokemon plushes. Everybody, give a virtual welcome to Faye Hernandez.
Hey y'all, thank you for having me. That was a long ass bio. I'm so sorry I had to sit through that, but I mean, I guess it's pop. I'm really, really nervous because everything we're talking about is hella personal. for our communities, for the work that we're doing. Me as a trans non-binary person, like navigating being once undocumented and now being a citizen, and what does it mean for me to have access to this and feeling like unheard and constantly like fucking fighting somebody. So I'm gonna start by doing a couple pieces, hella nervous, hella emotional. So I want us just to collectively like take a deep breath in, to just download everything that's happened in this Zoom call thus far, all of the amazing poets and the amazing work that we're all collectively doing. It's so necessary and so important. America with 3 Ks instead of a C. You're a gardener without a backbone. You picked immigrants, planted them in farms where their brown hands lifted the economy from depression, picking, growing, rotting for Aya, yet you still call us illegal? When mommy and I immigrated to this country, she taught me that little things were actually really big things. So the garage where floor was bed became a mansion of imagination where my mother was also my father, where Spanish was a Bible that erased all struggle and the 9-digit branding me citizen was non-existent. You see, I've always been oblivious to the alien people saw in me until opportunities were blank, like the social security line I couldn't fill in, never turned in like my vote in an election. But before I got crazy and burned this motherfucking nation down, mommy taught me patience. She said, baby, it's the spirit's way. Growing up, mommy never let my bare feet touch ground. You see, she knew friends whose brothers, daughters, and sisters died with blistering feet under a blistering sun crossing the border. Mommy taught me how to swim. It was her simple way of erasing the bitter taste of dead bodies from tongue. You see, they call us immigrants wetbacks because my people never lifted from the pits of the Rio Grande. Fabi's, speak up, talk louder. She didn't want my voice to recede to the sound of a whisper or become silent like a statistic. So she said, baby, in your body, one body, all will stand. And yes, they do, mommy. Yes, they do. And we ain't going anywhere. We ain't going anywhere. We ain't going anywhere. Thank you. That's my first piece. Damn, this was cathartic. I needed this. Thanks for holding space for this shit because a bitch has been mad. I'll tell y'all real quick. This past Sunday, these trolls, I'm nervous to be here in cyberspace because on Sunday, some trolls were coming for me, calling me a man, calling me an it, left and right. And, you know, like I have a choice every moment. Do I want to show up and continue doing this work? And this is just a reaffirmation to all the poets and all the writers and all the artists and all the people that keep showing up that this shit is necessary. Like, our work is necessary and we got to keep showing up. And a bitch is practicing this vulnerability thing because everybody's like, yo, Faye is a boss bitch. Faye does this. And I'm like, yeah, I do because I have to for my people. But anyways, let me not get mad. My lover fears me. I guess there was too much Selena in my walk, too much bitty bitty bomb bomb bitch. I guess there was too much Frank Ocean in my loving. I guess I was too much storm in the summer hold. Nah, I was too much sugar on the tongue. I was too much spirit. I was too many ancestors in a room for him. For these hetero flexible fuckboys that swore they loved me, I'm a threat. These soil brown eyes are a pending earthquake, a possession. These lips are a wild detour, wild harvest, and this love is a caution sign. It is a red light. They're clearly not used to the ways of the earth, the way my loving can swoop them in one touch like when they are not used to this transient love like sound bath or universe energy. They are not used to the howling woman on my tongue, not used to myth being truth. Of course I'm a threat. Let's take it back a notch. They're colonizers that fear the Pima Indian in me, the eagle, the flight, the ritual of me. They fear the too bare earth child, the too savage in me, the too tarahumara in me, the too feminine and masculine combined, the too healer and warrior in me. And they try to sever me, slice me with their love like a colonial silver sword, but with my too much Selena in my walk, too much Frank Ocean in my love and being too much storm in the summer. This queer trans body is a reason why men build walls, borders on their fingertips. I am the reason why men don't cry, don't open up to men. I will always be danger, a disease, a howling spirit, awakening, 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 and God forbid I awaken a man. But if I learned anything is that everybody's struggling. This patriarchy has men acting dumb, and that's okay. And we all got to work together on this. This is an alternate ending because not all men ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? If we're gonna do this work, we got to find our, middle ground and do the work. So here's my anger, and then here's my resolution. I want to do one more poem from my new book, Hood Criatura, my baby, 6 to 7 years in the making. And finally, I have a physical copy of the work, the resistance, the movement. And I want to bring my family in. You know, I was also diagnosed with COVID. A bitch is over here being mad tragic, but this is my truth. Like, my whole family got COVID and we're alive, we're all good. But it was some really heavy, hard time. So I'll do one more piece for you. It's called Retrato en Names. Grandma calls me my little son, with the way she digs her red acrylics into my plump hand, but utters grandson. Yet what she actually means to say is daughter I never had, who I love so much, because Mari, whom she calls my little daughter, was always more tomboy. Pati, the eldest daughter, also known as too sickly, had a sensitive scalp. Grandma couldn't pull her hair for braids, so she used my hair to turn me into the girl I couldn't be. Curiosito, she would whisper in my ear, weirdo. Grandpa calls me my king when he decides to speak to me, but what he actually means to call me is, I know you're a princess and I still love you. I know this because he shares his grapefruit with me, which is also called amor eterno, according to my grandma, who I sometimes call abuelita, little grandma. Grandpa, who I sometimes call abuelo, is never called little grandpa because it makes him feel less like my father or less of a man. Mommy calls me my little dog and gives me a necklace with an expensive stone when I start dressing like a girl. Mommy, who I sometimes call mom, will text me throughout the day, my son, how are you today? On days she remembers, she calls me my life. Stray, mommy will sometimes call me and bring me to her chest, hug me and fill the voids of men that leave me stranded. You know that I love you so much, right? She says with tears in her eyes and goes back to clicking plastic keys on a keyboard, and someone will shout out her name, boss, you have a client. They have a question. Madrina calls me my boy because she lost her firstborn and I replaced him. I sometimes call her my second mom or Tia Pati or mean because she's all those things, but never to her face. Tia is the name I use when I knock on her rusted door from her soon-to-be foreclosed house. Life did you so wrong, I empathize with you. Always pops more pills than she should because she has a pain that is insurmountable or the high is too good. Even though she calls me my sky or my treasure, I still can only sometimes call her, I know you're hurting, but that's not an excuse to hurt others. Padrino, who I can only ever call Tio Martin, or dad I never had in birthday cards, calls me Fabis, a name that yanked free of my hand. He remembers calling me my little boy a year ago, but now that I dress like a girl, he says, silence. Sometimes I know he wants to call me, this lifestyle isn't right, but he won't. Instead, he'll call me by my name, strange, or I don't understand you. Regardless, I'll be the first person he whips a plate of carne asada, even though I don't eat meat, beans and avocado and nopal salad for when I walk into his house in rapture. He's the only person I ever called father, even when I didn't show up for his midnight birthday cake candle blowout. Suseth, I sometimes call Susie or Sue or angry ass bitch because she stank ever since college, even though when we were younger, I called her me. She calls me annoying or brother or sister, but mostly she doesn't call me. I mostly call her sister, but in a tone you use when you want to say more but don't, the way you put glass cups in a cardboard box for storage. Sometimes she'll surprise me with kindness and transparency, and I'll call her open heart surgery survival. Or your softness inspires me, or thank you for the tortillas you just handmade for me, and yo, your fucking salsa is bomb. But were you mad? Although we forget our first names to each other, our last name is Halcyon or let's kick it, and that will never change. Susie is also the first person to correct our family when they don't use my correct pronouns. They, them, their is their pronouns. My sister needs us to use it for them. I never call Natalia by her first name. That name is reserved for Mean when she slaps words at her daughter. To me, Natalia is Nati, or my baby, or damn, you cooked this bomb-ass cake, or Nana, or Nani. Nani is also a holder of everyone's pain, but I won't cry, or the baddest bitch I know. Although Tia Pati thinks open heart surgery survivor and my baby her hands, Nana is stank face because I'm not gonna say shit when she's fed up. Nati is sometimes I'm tired of y'all shit. I'm never coming back, but sometimes she's the first to shed tears when the family hurt. Nana calls me Billy, a nickname I took on in high school to be anything but undocumented, faggot, mad. She calls me, damn, you fine, or dumb, or your hoops are popping, bitch. But she usually addresses me as home away from house, or safe space, or thank you for holding me, for taking care of me. Nana, my frizzy-haired wild woman, teaches me the intricacies of love over a quiet phone call. Thank you. I know I took up my space, but thank you so much for holding it and for staying with me as I'm reading and performing. I appreciate y'all for the invitation. I'm looking forward to the rest of the readers.
Oof, wow, thank you so much, Faye. Everybody tip Faye, follow Faye, buy Faye's book at hernandez.com. The book is called Hood Criatura. Wow, I have so much love for everybody in this virtual room tonight. So our next poet is Stephanie Roberts. Stephanie Roberts is the Panama-born, Quebec-based author of the poetry collection Rushes from the River Disappointment off of McGill Queen's University Press, 2020. Prize-winning and critically praised, her work has been featured in publications like Poetry, the League of Canadian Poets, Shenandoah, Atlanta Review, Quiddity, The New Quarterly, the Stockholm Review of Literature, Verse Daily, among others. Stephanie came to the United States at 2 years old and lived undocumented for 6 years. She grew up in the East New York section of Brooklyn. You can visit more of her work at www.oceansandfire.com. I'll put that in the comments. Everybody give it up for Stephanie Roberts.
Okay, hey, thank you. Thank you, everybody. I feel so honored to be included and representing from Canada, Quebec, Canada today. And I do want to mention that I live in a predominantly French community, so that influences in my work. So anyway, I'm just going to begin. I'm going to read about 3 poems from my latest book and some uncollected works and whatever chat happens along the way. Thanks. So this is actually the opening poem of my book, People Believing Badly. Can we hear me good? Are we good? Okay. Those of us who've seen miracles know how to ask. If you've asked me, do you love me? I almost certainly don't love you. And if in a foolish bout of poor judgment, I've asked likewise, then like death and taxes, by now you've retired with fire to your silent battle station. Be that as it is. We agree without asking to say nothing about all this strident, confused unbelief, keeping our conversations to the weather, and that guy who can swallow a Rubik's Cube through a mustard-colored disaster of teeth, solving the puzzle of it via revolting convolutions in gut before regurgitation. I bet that guy believes in I love you. I bet that guy asks for anything he wants. I want to talk briefly about the title of my next poem. I was once in an online workshop where the week's discussion was political poetry. We read a poem by a Black poet mourning her experience of Blackness in America. And in the discussion, several white writers tried to put a all lives matters interpretation on her work. I titled this work to obliterate that opportunity for such willful ignorance. This is called, This is About Being Black. In the morning, there is no day job to be alarmed by, and my waking hours toll same as yours. Black coffee, sweet Jesus, and the white toilet follows same as you. Dig 6 feet for the sleep of tulip bulbs as the Quebecois neighbor plays that one soul mix she's so proud of, singing, smoking grass, and reckoning Sam Cooke's pains the same as hers. In cold October, sweat weeps even as frost fingers under my clothes. Plant a spring dream for color, kiss before confinement and snow. Francoise hangs over the fence, offering a toke. I'm not resigned nor inclined to start sharing her samenesses. Every white body knows everything, painting my nights black and blue with grief, then copywriting the music. I was handcuffed, Paul outraged, sky eyes wide, wrongfully arrested and no job. You think I don't know what it's like to be black? I'm blacker than you. I keep my white thoughts to myself, ain't nothing blacker than that. Let them think I'm burying crocuses, daffodils, and hyacinths. Sunrises and sunsets, pastel approve, but I'm putting white bodies in these holes, digging deep, adding blood meal, laughing about it to the righteous earth. Thanks. This is my Latinx poem, Lady Fine is for Sugar. My grandmother believed in it. Delicate laugh, perfectly pressed blouse, blouse not shirt, and proper grammar billowing it out. You are well, not fine. Fine is for sugar. Shorthand, typing, secretarial position with some florid-faced boss drew success. My mother stormed like rain. Teen pregnancy, loud laugh, bellicose, swore freely in front of her children. I am the sky that could fall either way. Lady passe in enduring mythology, I feel some sort of way about Cardi B, precisely because she levitated up a stripper pole like a fucking phoenix against the stench of respectability politics. Like a motherfucking phoenix through the ceiling, burning on the hydrogen of unwavering respect bricks of dollar signs gain. Plush in the same country where Abuela believed you had to play the lady game. Star-spangled fantasy, my mother knew the danger, the voice that can't be heard, the suspect testimony of that pressed blouse, flesh-toned foundation obscures black and blues, white Peter Pan collar, crossed ankles, the I'm well, thank you. Mall of the Sirens. Willows tremble in from the road near water's lip, where one would wish to be instead of here, drumming in line, humming Hendrix, holding for purchase things you don't want, a doodad you'd realize doesn't suit your frame if you took a beat to let yourself rise to your own amazement, which is beyond the atrium's glass ceiling, beyond the tang of loneliness in the storm-nestled heart level. This is what comes of taking dreams off the horizon. It is the sun or nothing else, you would scream if you weren't caught up in the chorus. An acorn folded its arms. It desired death in black's riches. When you first got hold of it, this is also what you wanted. Chest, pocket placed. Wishes grow overly precious, like a tongue over decay in a tooth. Desire, wish, and will fought like tights in the laundry. You jumped fences without losing breath. You could keep the bow towards sunset. It felt like all the time in the world, eyes to sky, small running start with a tree asleep at your breast. Everything smooth is rose tone and false. It was the sun or nothing else. You mumbled to nobody, only the sun. Now you won't reach home. You never reach home. Two more. Part for me. Part for me, Gulf of Mexico. My knee is strongly against the light fingers, or the purple clouds of memory. Anyway, awareness feeds some childhood terror, childish, forgive me, it can't be helped. Black skin burns blue under the full moon. Salt and caramel complement as do chocolate and chilies. Do you think this is easy for me? Baby, it's a heartbreaker, coaxing spring from frozen soil. I promise, I'm singing into your puckered wound as tenderly as I can, which still seems to pink you. Part from me, I stay idling, give in. It's holding the ocean back that aches. It's the way you don't want me to say what I'm going to say. Thank you. The last poem. Thank you, guys. It's been terrific. It's called Black Conversation and was featured in the latest Shenandoah. I have to give a shout out to them. They've been so supportive. I just love that publication. Black Conversation. From the noose of the poem, the dead woman points off page. Follow her finger to the blue eyes of the poet who caps and uncaps a black fountain pen. He looks at her finger, wipes his eyes, scrolls down. Not I, he is sympathetic. Although the purple tongue tied shut in its duchess has a lot it could say, it wouldn't be saying anything that hasn't been said before. Her arm maintains indication. The poet unscrews his pen, marks the sky, azure, the river, tempestuous, the bystanders, the good old days, the rape, the neck, the feet going nowhere, the bystanders, the show not tell, plus ça change. Turn of the century postcard, the body camera, the hoodie, the bystanders, the wife beside you, the stanza, the assonance, the brain's patterned dashboard, the bystanders, the line breaks. His Mont Blanc outlines her obsidian necklace in mangled African American vernacular English. He screws his pen back together. The push cart is coming. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I'm like in a trance. That was so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you to all of the poets tonight. This is so special, and it's been a really horrible week, horrible month, horrible year. And like listening to all of these poems tonight, for me, and I'm sure for many people in the chat, it is super healing. So thank you so much to the poets for sharing their words. Please follow everybody on the internet, tip them, buy their work. I'm going to hand it over to, is it Kevin from Georgia? Is that right? I'm not sure if that's changed. Is that true? Can someone? Yes? Okay. Kevin from Georgia is going to talk a little bit more about Mijente. I'm going to pass it over to you. Thanks so much.
What's up, y'all? Thank you so much for having me here. It was so beautiful to listen to all of you. And thank you so much. My name is Joaquin. My pronouns are he, él. And I'm from South Georgia, living right now in Atlanta, working with the Georgia Latino Alliance for Human Rights and GLAR Action Network, and we've been doing the campaign work. I'm from the rural South, where racism is all around you with every single kind of structure, relationship that you can imagine with any kind of institution. And so listening to you all, your empowerment motivates me, and it also helps me reflect on moments in my life where standing up during moments like this, standing up against Trump is so important. Personally, looking back at the moments in my life where, like the first time where I saw my mom speak so freely about liberation like I did, listening to her speak at last year's Asamblea. And so with that spirit, that's what's motivating me to go forward. And well, here at Glory Action Network and the campaign that we have with Song Power and Mijente, we are trying to motivate Black and Brown voters to go out and vote. And it comes with like a lot of responsibility, because there's a lot of people who are just frustrated with the only options that we have left. But we have to be the ones who motivate them, motivate the youth to not give up for their parents, right? You know, and I think that this is a really important moment where, when we encounter these frustrated youth who say that they don't like the options that we have left and that they're not going to vote, we talk to them and we ask them, do you think that if your parents could vote, that they would vote for their own deportation? And that changes their perspective about things, right? When we talk to them and then they see for themselves that the broad majority of people, or at least half of the people who are doing the work out on the streets, are undocumented people, it also changes their perspective, right? And so we are reminding folks of the long history of community organizing that has taken place here in the state of Georgia. All the collective effort that we've had against the 287G policy, which is the ICE collaborative program that it has with local police departments. And we've seen the amount of people who've come out. When we go door knocking, people look at us, and it's like if they already know what we're gonna say. Oh, you got my vote. We're getting him out. And I think that that's also really impactful to see that even though there's a lot of frustrated people, there's also a lot of people willing to make an effort and tell their family members the importance it is to getting this man out the White House. That being said, we are going to be doing this work from now until November, going out almost every day. And so if you could just send a lot of love, a lot of good feelings and blessings, because these are the trenches. We are in Georgia, and sometimes it's not they're not happy encounters, but we know that all the good ones are all worthwhile.
Thank you so much, Kevin Joaquin. Our next poet, our final poet, Carlos Andres Gomez, is a Colombian American poet from New York City and the author of Fractures, which is off of University of Wisconsin Press. It was selected by Natasha Trethewey as the winner of the 2020 Felix Pollock Prize in Poetry, a star of HBO's Deaf Poetry Jam. Carlos is a proud papi of two. Everybody give it up for our final poet of the night, Carlos Andres Gomez.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you. Give it up for all the poets. Give it up for everybody tonight. I'm just gonna like clap again. I'm just like, this is the gift and the curse, I think, of doing an event like this, is I'm sure other people feel this. I feel so filled up with so many emotions in the best kind of way, but I just want to kind of like lie down and soak in it and like cry and laugh and not read poems. So that's kind of where I am right now. But yeah, I'm just so grateful to all the poets tonight. My gosh, I want to say thank you, Melissa, for hosting. Thank you, Sophia, Jose, Amanda, Jonathan, everybody from Mijente who talked, Kevin, Tanya, was it Maria Luisa? I'm actually in Atlanta, so I'm definitely going to connect with the Georgia Mijente crew. I just relocated from New York. Wow, I've been pulled so many different directions about what I want to do, and I'm feeling so many things. I know one thing I really miss in shutdown. I know Georgians don't give a fuck about a shutdown. You go to every bar and it's like no masks, you know, everyone making out. But you know, thank you, Brian Kemp. You know, I really miss dancing, and this is a poem about being 15. I just got my first galley of the new book. This is my debut full-length Fractures, and it's like it's like the galley, so it's not the real book, but it feels really wild. And this is I'm gonna read 3 poems from there, and this is called Last Sundays. at Bootleggers. It's about being 15 at an all ages dance night in Providence, Rhode Island. It goes like this. My entire wardrobe was Canal Street original. Knockoff chic, adolescent sleek in my double XL blue and black bubble jacket. Yeah, I was inside the club, and what? Inside an oversized coat coated in sweat and Old Spice. A kid eyeing 16, but not quite there. I wanted it all, Chico. Learner's permits, the latest Jordans in baby blue, maybe a wink from the pretty Boricua in social studies. And when Biggie's verse dropped in Only You, he was in that room and teaching us how to live elevated. From that third floor wasteland towering above India Point, so we sang, sour-throated and nostalgic for times we hadn't yet lived in unison, like we wrote it, till our voices cracked and spilled over and between every rift. But in the throng of lost kids, where I finally found a self I loved, it all came together, like we could remix any wreckage and make it into a stage to slay. So we swayed and grinded like our lives were a music video tribute, hip to hip. It's obviously a time of tremendous grief and outrage and anguish, and it's just a very fucking hard moment. And I think one thing that is very hopeful to me is seeing how many times I've heard the word abolish in the last couple of months. Abolishing prisons, abolishing police, abolishing fucking ICE and CBP and all that shit. Things that some of us have been saying for a long time, and it seems like now that's stuff that is being carried on broader platforms, and more people seem to be paying attention and listening, and not just people who've been paying attention to Mari Makaba or Angela Davis for like a few years, you know? I spent many years doing workshops on Rikers Island, and I worked with the youngest population that's incarcerated on Rikers Island, which is 16 and 17-year-old boys. And I don't call them young men because they're children. You know what I mean? 16 and 17-year-olds are locked up on Rikers Island. And for those of you who aren't in New York or don't know Rikers, it's the largest penal colony in the world. It's 17,000 people on this little island next to LaGuardia Airport, where like if you're about to take off, you look over and you're like, oh, is that a cute little like resort? No, it's Rikers. And so I wrote this poem for the 16 and 17-year-old children that I used to work with on Rikers, and it's called Mourning Rikers Island. Physics and light pierce the hollow stench of the forgotten gymnasium, stripped naked of clocks. All the adolescent boys stop, offer their grief to each other like water, glancing out the only window they all share. A single ray unfolds its warmth across the dusty belly of the thudded parquet. And here's the miracle. The sun frees everyone to sing. I'm going to read one more poem. Please tip all of the poets. I'll just say this. If you want to pre-order my book, that's awesome. Please support Mijente. Please tip all the poets. People who are doing virtual shows or whatever are getting paid like a seventh what they probably should be getting paid, or like even less. So just please tip the poets if you can. Support their work, buy all their books. The LatiNext anthology, I'm so honored to have my work in it with all these incredible poets. It really feels like history and like a reframing of the canon. If you know libraries or bookstores or educators, or you are a faculty member, like Dr. Castillo Planas at Lehman, who has already integrated it. you know, this is how we reframe the canon, you know, to say this is a vital anthology from Haymarket Books and it should be taught for the next 2,000 years. That's how I feel about it. But anyway, I was so many directions. I have so much like rage and feelings and other things, but I feel called to do this poem because, I mean, shit is hard enough just to like be alive right now. And this poem is about just seeking out gratitude, even on the most difficult of days and even in the most like anguish-riddled, devastating moments. And I feel like that's a discipline I've been trying to build because I want to survive and I want my family to survive to whatever the other side of this is. And this can mean a lot of things, but all of the this is, I want all of us and I want my family and I want all, you know, all of mi gente to like make it to the other side, you know, all of nuestra gente to make it to the other side. And this is called Praise. And it goes like this. Praise. Because my grandmother's final days lasted 23 years. And so we'd rush each time. Say goodbye and goodbye. Te quiero mucho, abuelita. Te adoro. Because my mother's truest mother is grief, who taught her the slack-jawed abandon of joy. Because my daughter strung together a 4-syllable word this afternoon. Because I say I love you so much to my wife mid-fight. And we chuckle sometimes between barbs like we forgot which characters we were supposed to play because the dusk gave me a reprieve from the rain on the way home from daycare today. Because I was given a best friend for all of 6 years. And we handwrote letters each week in bright ink, dreamed of whose hair would give way first. Because the dusk is a stubborn guard when I'm most tired, and grace refuses the chariot, also known as that rickety stroller that has somehow not yet quit, because Brent metamorphoses those ticking minutes everyone else loses sleep over, shows up an hour early, or makes me wait while I reread the menu I've had memorized for a decade because we pretend we don't know what we'll order, ask each other, then order the chicken pad thai every damn time because my sister and brother were once small enough to make a home of my curled arm. Because I loathed their arrival until that moment on the 7th floor of Mount Sinai because there are no half siblings. Because my body begins to fail a little more each morning in minute and quiet increments like gradual, gorgeous rust. Because I courted death too long, but now dream of my retirement porch. Because my son's scalp at 76 seconds old, the 3 weeks he barely slept for more than 15 minutes, the lunges that shaped my quads and calmed his sobbing just long enough because I have wanted to be a father as long as I have feared its weight, because I exhale knowing I cannot fail what I cannot leave, because no one I know has grown more in 3 decades than my father. Because right now, the oven is performing its miracles. August is teasing us with its suffocating warmth. My daughter is coloring in vibrant looping scrawls that look like cartoon fireworks, or the curls wreathing the large eyes she's borrowed from her mother. And finally, mi gente, I'm home. Thank you. Y'all are beautiful.
So I'm going to pass it over again to Sophia, who's going to do another plug about Mi Gente, and say some more about the Fuera Trump campaign. Okay.
Cool. I'm gonna talk actually about some other kind of work because I think we've covered the Fuera Trump bases. But just want to say thank you again to all the poets, all of you who are here. I really do believe that la cultura cura, and I feel that with every palabra that y'all have shared. So thank you so much. I wanted to highlight just some upcoming work on the without the state and against the state front, because we do go hard on that too. We come from the Not One More Deportation campaign here at Mijente, and we are continuing that lineage through the No Tech for ICE work, No Data for Cops work. On Monday, we have a webinar about Palantir, which you may know of. It is a technological company that has been fueling ICE's work by providing them the data about our people and by allowing them to increase the surveillance of our people, right? And so we know that we need to cut off those tools to police, to ICE. And so we invite you to the webinar on Monday, which we'll post a link in the chat. We also have our Defund the Police crash course coming up at the end of September. It'll be the last weekend of September. We're partnering with Dream Defenders, Southerners on New Ground, Sunrise, and many other badass organizations to put on this crash course and educate more of our peoples on what it means to defund the police and how we can do that locally. So this will be the second round of that course. If you're interested in being a trainer for it, that's the best way to learn anything. You already know is to teach it. So we can prep you to teach it. Or if you just want to participate, sign up for our Mijente newsletter at mijente.net, and we'll get you all that badass information on how to get educated, activated, and making moves to help build our political power. So those are just a couple other plugs that I wanted to insert before we go into our community space. So I'll pass it back to you, Melissa.
Thanks so much, Sophia. Okay, so now this is sort of a space to kind of, you can talk about the poems that you listened to tonight, a space to shout out some of like work that you love from the poets, because we are so far away from each other, and this is a virtual space. It is hard to know like what reactions are, and also like so much is going on, so this is just a nice community space to have connection and debrief in whatever way we see fit. So I'm not going to call on anyone. If anybody wants to go forward popcorn style, I'll mute myself.
Hi, my name's Melissa. Am I unmuted? Great. I just want to say thank you to all the poets. Your work inspires me. I'm a professor of literature, and this is the work that drives me, that inspires me, that literally shapes my syllabus every semester. And I'm so excited for this reading. And I really want to also thank Mijente, because I didn't know about this organization. I'm going to share it with my students. And the work that you're doing is so important, and I'm just so thankful to have been a part of this evening.
Thank you, Melissa. Shout out to all our educators figuring out education in this moment, y'all, especially online and with these politicians just not leading in any kind of way. So appreciation to all our educators, students, parents, figuring it out. Mijente is a political home to connect all of us in these different fields. So also want to shout out our parents crew, our educators crew, if anybody's interested in connecting with other folks on that tip too.
Also,